Let's call the personnel meeting to order.
How about you? Ours came back.
If I could please have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meetings made by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. At this point, before we get started with our agenda items, I wanted to allow a privilege of the floor by anyone at the public at this point that would like to be heard. Hearing none, let's move on to our agenda. We have President Duffy here with us from SUNY Adirondack. I've asked President Duffy to join us this morning for a brief update to the college, but also I had a couple inquiries regarding your culinary program and how that works into the grants that seems to be the talk of the town, and wondered if you would take a few moments to address our committee.
Well, good morning, everyone. So just a couple brief updates college-wide. Our construction project continues to move along nicely, and I invite you anytime to come over. I have a great view from my office, and we've also broke ground on the Workforce Readiness Center, and the weather has helped us. So we're actually, I'm seeing flooring being poured, and so we're moving right along there. I did spend yesterday in Albany for our Community College Trustees Advocacy Day. Met with several of our local legislators and others to get a sense of where we are with budget. So we met with them. And so this morning I sent a draft resolution for your consideration to support our advocacy efforts and asking the state to basically hold us harmless, which is typically what the K-12 environment kind of talks about. In other words, just don't cut us. Give us the same amount last year that will help all of our community colleges to at least not achieve a cut. If that doesn't happen, we will have a cut to all of our budgets, in the range, depending on their size of budget, anywhere from $1 million to $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. So it's significant for us. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to help support us on that effort, and we'll go from there. I do want to just leave you with, these are kind of our advocacy sheets, and I just think there's some good data that you might want to know about the successes at the college and some success stories on the back. I'll leave those here with you. So as far as the culinary program, as you've been reading, actually approached, well, quite a long time ago, when the city was putting together their application for the Downtown Revitalization Initiative out of the governor's office. Would we consider some sort of presence in downtown? And so we said we'd consider it as things kind of unfolded. So fast forward, as the city was awarded the $10 million initiative funds, we've been having obviously continual conversations about what type of presence. It made the most sense for us, given that we already rent space off campus for our culinary program, and the fact that we've already run out of space to effectively deliver the program, that it made sense that culinary would be the program we'd consider moving downtown. So, we've visited various sites in the summer, fall maybe, I don't know, I can't keep track of time sometimes, but, we're having considerable conversations at the 14 Hudson property. We haven't entered into any contracts or anything yet. Really, as I've said all along, it has to be as close to cost neutral for us as possible. We're not in a position financially to invest in yet another project, as you can imagine. And anything we enter in at this point would still be a lease agreement, so similar to what we're doing on Bay Road. But if we're going to move, it's got to be advantageous for us in terms of space. So we're at the point now that we actually have to turn students away from some of our entry-level culinary courses because we just don't have the space to offer more than one section of courses. So students then typically either maybe leave the program or they have to wait another year to get in the cycle. And so we know there's demand, and we know we can meet that demand even better with better space. So that's kind of our focus. And of course, it would be nice for us to be downtown, but our primary consideration is whether it's in the best interest of the college and our students. So we believe it is. So we're moving along. We have a lot to work out, and we'll keep everyone posted as things progress. But we're expecting to have some sort of decision within the next month to month and a half. The city then has to submit their report to the state, which they've already done, and request of how to allocate the funds. And we are in that request for any of the capital outlay that would need to happen to equip the new culinary center. So we are in that. And, you know, we've been given a lot of positive feedback from the community as well as from those at the state that this is a good project. So we feel comfortable with that piece of it, but it's really got to work on the leasing and financial. I hope that gives you...
No, we appreciate the update. Supervisor McDevitt?
Yeah, I would think that one advantage may be, President Duffy, the ability to start from scratch, to do a build-to-suit, to just kind of have a planner, have an architect, have a builder, custom design the space, to take into consideration, obviously, what you're doing now, but maybe looking 10 years into the future.
Absolutely. So our faculty have been very engaged in that process and kind of put together their, if we could do everything, what would we do? And that's what we've been working on in terms of design. We haven't been able to really move into the baking area of culinary, which is very popular now. So this would allow us to have a whole baking area and kind of separate that from general meal preparation. So there's really, it is a great opportunity. And of course, having a presence downtown, having a functioning restaurant of some sort, will bring more community members into understanding what we do. It gives our students more opportunities for internships and potential job opportunities even downtown. And if we design it right, we also have some classroom space that we can use for other things. So, you know, meeting the needs of employees that are downtown. I think the estimate was about 3,200 employees are there on a regular basis in downtown Glens Falls. So to be able to offer what I keep calling kind of lunch and learns, you know, opportunities to our continuing ed department being right there, making it convenient for employees would be another aspect of it. So it's not all about culinary, it's really about bringing the college to people where it's most convenient. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I know that you've presented us with a resolution today. How does the committee feel about moving forward with that resolution?
I would so move, yes.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor by Supervisor McDevitt, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. All those in favor?
Aye. We can always discuss it later, I guess.
Discussion?
Aye.
Discussion comes before, sorry.
Yes.
Let's just back up for a moment. I apologize. Discussion?
You get 29%, but it should be about 33%, is that?
That's the statute,
So you're
yeah.
always vying for that extra 4%, and then
Yes.
that would work out to how much for you?
Oh gosh, I'm sorry, I don't know that off the top of my
Okay.
head,
No,
but,
tough to throw.
well, it would be an additional, probably $700 or so thousand.
Yeah.
Just as a reminder, really that a third, which also does include our sponsors, and we're not even close to that in our sponsor contribution. We really haven't had that since, like, I think 1971. I think there was only 1 year that it actually worked out. So yes, we continue to kind of say this is the statute, follow the statute, this is what your contribution should be. And that, you know, where we are today for our funding from the state is where we were in 2009.
Yeah.
So, you all know what costs go up over several years. And so thank you, we appreciate any support.
Supervisor Brock?
Yeah, I've been doing a little research since the STEM, there was some controversy when we went to build the STEM building, and what I found kind of astonished me, really. The United States, people think we're going down as a manufacturing country. We're actually manufacturing twice as much as we did 30 years ago, but we're doing it with two-thirds of the people, and there's almost a relentless push towards automation. And they're saying even with artificial intelligence, that a lot of the low-end jobs are going to be gone within just a few years. You know, like calling up and getting information. So what it means, you know, all this sort of big picture stuff. What it really means is the way towards getting a middle class income is through education, and that the other thing is not even going to be available. It's no longer a case of, well, I can go. I mean, when I got out of high school, a lot of my friends went to work in the mills, and they made good money doing manual labor. That's not going to be the case anymore. The only thing that's going to matter, and it's just unbelievable. It's almost like we're going to the space age. where it's going to be all automation and the people who are going to make money are the ones, people will still be doing it. Computers can only think so well, but it's going to be taking over all the manual, the things that people normally used to do. And what you're doing is going to become absolutely critical. I mean, much more so than what it is even now.
Correct. And all very valid points. We had a speaker come to campus last spring to talk about trends in really just in society. And the statement that stuck with me is if you can write an algorithm for it, that job will be gone within the next 10 to 20 years. When you think about it, anything that you can write a program to make happen will be automated. And we've had these we just started a STEM roundtable last fall where we've gathered about 10 or 12 local manufacturers in a variety of areas to come together to say, what are some common needs that you have? Because the manual aspect is starting to die out, but the ability to have higher order thinking, critical thinking is very much in need, and they're having a hard time filling those positions, and those are good paying positions. So we've gathered that group to say, help us create curriculum that will meet your needs as it continues to evolve. So out of that, we're creating what's called mechatronics, which is kind of combining mechanical and electrical technologies. So they're finding is their technicians don't need to be competent entirely in mechanical or entirely in electrical. They kind of need to know both in order to effectively operate machinery. So that's just one example of trying to meet the needs locally of their workforce needs. So, but great point. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion then on the floor? I believe it was made by Supervisor McDevitt and seconded by Supervisor Simpson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. President Duffy, I also just wanted to send my compliments. We had an opportunity last month, and I don't think we had reported on it, to meet with centers, with Warren County centers. President Duffy cleared her schedule very quickly for us and met with our regional director over there. And I think a very productive conversation with your nursing department, which ended up, and perhaps you'd like to report on it, but I know we had a great discussion about scholarships that were being established and working, offering some additional educational reimbursement for students that are going through the program. And I know you've been in further discussions, but I wanted to thank you for making that happen so quickly.
No, it was a great connection, and we've now connected him with BOCES as well as us, and working with continuing ed and our nursing program, and really trying to fulfill the multiple types of position needs that they have in multiple facilities. So I think it was a great opportunity to establish a strong partnership. So thank you.
Well, thank you again. And all right, are you through with your report?
I am.
Thank you so much for coming and providing that information. Moving on, we have items under the HR Director and Personnel Office. You'll see subsection A, a review of the tracking of vacancies filled.
No, if anybody has any questions.
Great. So any questions on that form, please see Jackie. B is an update on an education reimbursement process. You should see item 2B. Last month, we had a couple education requests that came through personnel, and as a result, from a few months ago, we started talking about updating the form for the educational reimbursement request to better include our HR department and also our committee chairs. And you'll see here an updated form that's been reviewed by our county administrator, chairman, and HR department. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to take a look at that, and instructions. What came to light was that we needed to provide our department heads with a clearer guidance on how to facilitate that process when an employee asks for educational reimbursement of a job-related course, and what exactly that meant. Our county attorney also had an opportunity to look at this, and our hope was that if we came up with a little more direct form, that we could provide easier access and equal access to all of our employees to be able to fully utilize this program. And so this is before you today as a request for a resolution to to adopt this form. And that being said, is there any discussion regarding resolution form number 19? Supervisor Leggett?
Well, I like the simplicity of it here under number 11, number 13, supervisor's comments, human resource comments, approve, deny. Are we requesting those two to make a decision, or just to pass on a recommendation to the board?
Jackie?
The recommendation,
Yeah.
I think what our current process is missing is that if someone went to their supervisor or department head and they said no, the answer was no, and it never made it any further.
Okay.
So we're going to say whether you approve or deny, you can say why, but keep it going so it gets to the committee and you guys make the ultimate decision.
Good.
Good.
And then the next step, once it gets approved, I was working with Carla, she did the instruction sheet and a new voucher, so they know exactly what to turn in, they have everything ready to go, instead of back and forth and back and forth. So we work to try to make it easier from the beginning, whether your department has put funds aside or hasn't, you should still be able to make your request. So we've changed the process to accommodate that.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. I believe our concern was that historically, if an employee came and there wasn't money in the budget, it would automatically be a no. And that, again, following equal access for all of our employees, all should be considered as long as they're, relative to their job at hand. So we appreciate the work of the auditor's office, also the treasurer's office. I know in the past it's become an issue of, we definitely want to be able to provide a service that we have, or an educational opportunity, but we don't want to be double paying anything. We want to make sure that we're looking at all scholarships, financial aid, and then doing that reimbursement up to the 50%. So it seemed like there were a few problems in the form that we just needed to clarify. Are there any other questions,
Can you get a
Supervisor
motion
Simpson? Yes, I would love a
adopt
motion.
that?
Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
So motion's been made by Supervisor Simpson, it's seconded by Supervisor Frazier. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Item C is a request to amend the table of organization and salary schedule to increase the salary of the Sheriff's Security Supervisor from part-time $17.20 an hour to $18.25, retroactive to January 1. That motion is made by Supervisor Simpson and seconded by Supervisor Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Thank you. 2D is a request to amend the table of organization and salary schedule to create the position of Principal Account Clerk with an annual salary of $42,000 and delete the position of Civil Service Tech 1, annual salary for $42,000, effective March 19th to address the civil service classification issues. Can I have a motion to get this on the floor? Made by Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor McDevitt. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Leggett?
Is this item 2D?
Correct.
And then on the title requested position, is it a principal account clerk or principal personnel clerk?
At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Trish Nediger. She can give us an
You're
overview.
The principal personnel clerk.
Okay.
These changes represent, what we're doing it with civil service, one of the things that is mentioned, Supervisor from Hague brought up that we're looking for civil service to become more functional within the county needs, and one of the things we're doing is as new positions come up and open up, we're looking at the classification and the titles. And in our own process, we did that and came up with some titles that the state, in talking to them, indicated, well, you're creating testing situations for your own people and for other people. So we're learning along the way about the implications of how to update these classifications to have the best testing processes. So in our own department, we're looking to, there's no change in salary. We've talked to HR, talked to the treasurer's office, talked to the county attorney. It's functionally a classification issue that's technical to civil service. Our new employees and our current employees will be compensated in the same way we've discussed in the past. And so we're just asking this to address internally so we can better serve you guys as we go forward. As to a more technical issue, you're correct. It's principal and senior personnel clerk. So we'll have a personnel clerk, a senior personnel clerk, a principal personnel clerk. The personnel clerk is not being filled at this time.
That address your question, Supervisor Leggett?
Yes, it does. So then if there's a motion, should we correct the motion to reflect that it's personnel clerk and not account clerk? Is that correct?
Yes. So for 2D, it's principal personnel clerk instead of civil service technician 1.
Thank you for that clarification. Was there a motion on the floor? Will you amend your motion to reflect that, Supervisor Simpson? Is it Simpson?
No, I didn't.
Frazier.
I'll make motion
Oh,
then for 2D with the correction of the title to principal personnel clerk.
Supervisor Frazier McDevitt, is that fine with you?
Yep,
That's
great.
fine.
Yep.
Oh, did you already make that
Yes.
motion? Oh, I'm
We
sorry.
did. That's all right.
That's okay, we work together here, Supervisor Leggett.
They work so fast.
We weren't quite as specific as
Right, we were.
Supervisor Leggett was today.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to 2E. The second part of that, request to amend the table of organization and salary schedule to create the position of senior personnel clerk, annual salary of $35.24, and delete the position of senior civil service clerk, annual salary of $35.24, effective March 19, to address technical civil service classification issues. I have a motion to put that on the floor. Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, thank you. 2F, to request to amend the table of organization and salary schedule to create the position of senior personnel clerk temp, annual base salary of $35.24, and delete the position of senior civil service clerk temp, annual base salary of $35.24, effective March 19, to address, again, civil service classification issues. Have a motion to get that on the floor, please. Supervisor McDevitt, seconded by Supervisor Leggett. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. We do have a referral from the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee from the Sheriff's Office, a request to amend Resolution Number 76 of 2017, amending the table of organization and Warren County salary and compensation plan for 2017 to separate and correct the salary increases for the commissionary clerk from $17.12 to $17.46 an hour, and security officer from $17.41 to $17.76, positions to accurately reflect the salaries that have been adopted in the 2017 budget. Have a motion. Thank you. Supervisor Leggett, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. And request to be discussed by the county administrator. And at this point, we'll turn it over to the county administrator to discuss Resolution 501 of 2012, which is providing background checks for candidates.
We used to go outside the county for background checks, but I checked with internally. We can do them at the Sheriff's Department and get the same information, so we don't have to go outside. There'll be no staffing increase requirements at the current time unless we get a whole influx of background checks, but I think it's better that we keep it in-house and let the Sheriff's Department do them.
Is there a charge internally?
No charge internally. It'll save us $150, $200 per. It doesn't happen that often, but we have certain candidates that we need to do it. So I would suggest that we go with the Sheriff's Department.
Do you need that in a form of a resolution?
Yeah, I think we do. Yep.
Or to amend the resolution, thank you, yes. Supervisor Simpson, you'd like to amend the resolution. Supervisor Frazier, to second that. Is there any discussion regarding that?
Yeah,
Supervisor
I'm
McDevitt?
just posing this because I don't know the answer to the question, and it's you know, is there an inherent conflict in this process having the Sheriff's Department do it? I don't know. Is it are we too close to, you know, a personnel issue?
I wouldn't say so. These are candidates coming in. These aren't, you know, if there was you know, these are for certain high-level candidates that the county hires. I wouldn't think so. I'm sure that if it became a point, he would mention it. The office would bring it to our attention.
Supervisor Brock?
Can you give examples of what the high-level type jobs that
If
would...
you're gonna, the personnel officer, HR person, county administrator, those type of jobs, there's certain staff, the staffing jobs we do background checks on.
You had no problem with the sheriff looking into your background?
Well, I'm a little older than him, but I did go to school with him, so I think I'd pass.
As I wondered, I didn't see your report come through here again, so.
I can remember there was some discussion when former Administrator Dusick was here as it related to this issue, and I believe he kind of felt that it's a good idea to go outside and get it done. And that was his opinion, okay, but it is what it is. So.
I'm comfortable. To me, it's about saving money and getting the same information. I think we can do the same information doing it internally.
And just as a side note, I also believe it gets done a little bit more quickly, and that had been a problem in the past with many, particularly department heads we wanted to hire, and it took much longer to get that back, if you'll recall, with some of our positions. So, is there any other discussion on the topic? No? Hearing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. There's a couple pending items. One, this has been floating around for a while. I know that we need to take a look at resolution number 146 of 2016 concerning salary adjustments when we're looking at deputy department heads. I don't believe at this point we have an update, do we?
No, but I think we need to have the committee give us direction. I mean, currently, if you have a department head out, somebody fills in, there's no mechanism to pay them extra pay, to my knowledge, correct? Is that right? I'm referring to the budget officer and Joanne. We have nothing currently where we pay any extra money for somebody for long term. And I think that was the question of the committee at one time. If somebody's out for extended length of time and somebody steps up and does a position, is there a way to pay them? And we don't have anything currently. There's no policy to it, and we don't do it. So I guess we need to know, do you want to pursue this? You want to let it go? Does it go with the territory, or how do you want to handle it?
Supervisor Frazier?
Well, I feel we should do something. If they're only filling in for a day or two, that's understandable. We've had cases where they filled in for a month or two.
Right.
And if they're assuming all of the duties, then to me, there should be some way that,
All right.
We'll
get to work on something. What is the length of time you think? I mean, what do you feel is appropriate length of time to somebody to step into that position?
Supervisor Brock?
Yeah, the issue I think came up with the DSS. He was acting as the DSS attorney, plus she was being the Department of Social Service head when, and it just seemed like that it was a huge burden to be handling both things. So I almost wonder if we should, if there are certain situations where common sense would say she needs to be compensated. But I don't know if you need a broad policy or not.
Well, I don't think you can do that, Jim. I don't think under the way we're set up, we can just do that. I don't believe we can we? Somebody help me here. Mary?
Well, I kind of agree with Supervisor Brock. I mean, we had the DSS attorney, or the deputy
Right.
acting as an attorney also. It was kind of a dual job, and then we threw another position on.
Right.
Whereas a deputy, I mean, we would have to evaluate the salaries of the deputies to find out if it was in.
Yeah, but you can't pick and choose.
Right. No,
I think you need to have something set in stone, or you're going to pick and choose.
Well, I'm going to get to that. I agree. But I'm saying that the deputy salaries are commensurate with the responsibility of a deputy, and maybe that included provisions for stepping up for an extended period of time. I'm not sure. I don't know how those salaries were established. I'm just throwing it out there as...
Supervisor Leggett had his hand up. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, CSEA, you have working out of class, with certain...
We have a policy
provisions.
now. Yeah, we cleaned that up with our contract.
Yeah. So this would be a similar item, isn't it? You're working out of class, so to speak, but the job does come with the assumption that you will be taking over the duties of the head if you're a deputy to some degree. So the question becomes, what length of time? Is that correct?
Right.
You know, is it going to be a 2-week, or is it over so many pay periods?
Jim, if I just may, Supervisor Sokol had his hand up
Yep,
a little
sure.
while ago.
Thank you, Chairwoman. It'd just be maybe a phone call, but it'd be interesting to know if any of our surrounding counties have some sort of a policy pertaining to this. I'm sure they run into situations like this as well, but it might just be a simple phone call to see if they have something in writing.
That's a good point. Supervisor Brock.
Yeah, I was thinking that instead of basing it on taking over the heads, you know, the top position, what if it was like what I remember with the DSS problem was that she was working 70 hours a week or something. And maybe if we had a time factor where if you work more than 10 hours over your time, then it would kick in automatically. That way it would be uniform for everybody, and that makes more sense.
Well, so what I'm hearing is that there is a desire to continue to look at this policy. So I think at this point, if we ask our county administrator to continue working on that with the county attorney.
I'll try to get something for the next meeting.
Okay. Supervisor McDevitt, then Chairman
Yeah,
Conover.
it just seems as if there are some issues you just can't commit to a piece of paper. I mean, it's an exception rather than the rule, and for every exception, there's another exception, and
Let's try it.
like we're chasing, you know.
We'll see what we do. We'll find stuff.
Chairman Conover?
Yeah, this came up before, and I think that some of the thoughts before were, well, isn't that the responsibility of the chair in the absence of the chair? And then that was one issue, and so they took us to the time, so how much is that? Is it that the chair, is it that the director has left, and it's taking us a long time to replace it, or is it that there's significant need that's not requested for some reason? And then the next question becomes, okay, well, the deputy moves up, but then somebody moves into the deputy spot. That can be a domino effect here as well. How do we address that? And then you have departments that don't have deputies, right? Let's take off planning, right? So when we're to leave, I guess we would have senior planner, because
Yeah.
so we don't even have a deputy. So this is going to take some thought that's why I didn't get as far as the last time. Because the truth of the matter is it's a unique situation, Mr. Collins.
Yeah, and I think once we start to review our pay scales and our performance evaluations, this will all fall into what's expected, and all this will play into being able to come up with a pay scale that if somebody does fill in, it'll be built into their pay somehow. Right, Frank?
Yeah, well, I agree with Mr. Williams. Time issue. If you're a deputy, you're a deputy, so.
Yeah, that's correct.
Job. But if it goes on for.
Extended.
Whatever time you want to set on it,
So we'll continue to work on that issue. Our county administrator just led us into our next pending item, which I'd like to call to your attention, which is not on your agenda, is just regarding our performance work plans. We are quickly coming up on our mid-year mark. Everyone has been asked as committee chairs to take some time, review your department goals, and to provide a final goal back to Jackie at HR. I think our final extension is this Friday, from what I understand. Unless you've heard from everyone, you're good now.
I think I've heard from everyone.
Excellent. Okay, so we have those all set. We'll start working now on the schedule for the mid-year review, so you'll all be contacted about a scheduling in mid-April. I think initially we had hoped for April 6th, but we'll have to take a look at those dates.
Then the 14th, something like that?
Don't forget school vacation.
Before that, we looked at that.
So we'll take a look and just make sure that we coordinate those efforts. So please be ready for a couple long days for those performance work plans. You'll each be notified as to what floating committee you're assigned to. So if you recall, each member of the personnel committee will be assigned to different departments to do those evaluations. So not all of us will sit on all all of those committees. It will be made up of your personnel chair, your county chairman, your county administrator, HR, and the committee chair, and then one floating personnel member. So we'll look forward to that time together in April. Is there any other business that needs to come before personnel today? Hearing none, could I have a motion to close the meeting, please? Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Those in favor?
Aye.
Do you do a favor? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.